Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how are you doing today?
All good over here, Joe. Little homeschool action this morning, throwing off my day. Was informed that I did not pick up a math test out of our school library. So, of course, you know, these days life is weird, juggling all these different things. So as soon as we're done here, I will be booking it over to school to grab some math tests. And the scary part is that I crunch numbers all day long and I probably couldn't pass these tests. 6th grade. Yeah, that's the truth, guys. Hate to admit it, but it's true. Hate to admit it. But what are you up to? Still living?
Yeah, still living the good life. But that just reminded me, you know, guys, we're just doing some online, offline stuff here. Download the Creative Cloud app for your girls because it has a bunch of cool trainings on it.
Yes.
Creative Cloud.
The app. We're talking about is that different than the Adobe suite or stuff, or is that part of it?
It's all the same, but I just found it the other day and it's got this like really cool stuff going on in it.
Oh, you should drop that down in the notes here if you can. So what he's talking about is that, you know, with the stay at home and some of this COVID stuff and not being able to socialize as much as we'd like. I have twin girls. They're 12 years old. They're in 6th grade and they're very smart. And therefore, I have purchased the Adobe suite of apps for them because what I have them do is they have to do 1 hour a day or 30 minutes to 1 hour a day of learning about something that they're interested in outside of school. And then I make them give me a PowerPoint presentation in exchange for something they want. So that's called bribing. Yeah, that's what I do. I bribe my kids into learning. So it's become a habit for them. And literally now they love it so much that they will like not come out and watch TV at night. And they say, I go, what are you going to go do? She goes, I'm going to go do some learning. That's what they say. So Joe and I are talking about the fact that they are learning the Adobe app suite of apps there. And Joe is also working on that at the same time. So we're sharing some training resources. Highly recommend you plug your kids in and be like, you know, working for you pretty soon. So that's what we're talking about. Yeah. But speaking of working, guys and gals, today is a special podcast. Today we're actually not going to talk as much about real estate. Today we're going to talk about community, and we're going to talk. The point of our podcast today is to help our friends, our family, our neighbors that maybe have lost a job or need an extra job. And our friend Dion McNeeley here has a very awesome, I'll say, avenue for you guys. I'm going to turn the mic over to Dion today, and we are going to help our friends, family, neighbors, and everybody else who needs a job get exposed to how they can get a job through some of Dion's resources here. It's a feel-good Tuesday here when we're recording, and I'm excited to I'll probably cry at some point because that's what I do when we get all into the community talk here. But Dion, thanks for joining us again. Unmic yourself. It looks like you're mic'd, Dion. There you go. And I'm literally going to turn the mic over to you. If you guys haven't met Dion McNeeley before, definitely one of my most favorite people that I have met in the last year. He is the guy next door. He's just like all of us, just willing to help and share as he's growing his own real estate empire and living his normal life along the way. And if you haven't listened to one of his Dion talks, we're going to connect you with how you can do that later in the show today. If you're interested in buying small multifamily properties, this is your friend, Dion McNeeley, who's going to help his simple, I'll say a simple eloquence in the way that you talk about how you're going through your own growth of your portfolio. And it is just, that's what strikes me as making you different, Dion. And we appreciate you so much that you have come into our community here. And other than that, I'm going to turn it over to you today to fill us in on how can somebody get a job. You guys share this with everybody you know, okay? That's the point. This today is a highly shareable podcast. Please help your friends, family, neighbors, or your clients as you're going on appointments. This is such a value add, such a give that you can give to people, this information that we're going to share with you today on how to help people find a job. So Dion, take it away, friend.
Well, thank you, Julie, Joe. I appreciate the invite. And it usually confuses a lot of people when I do presentations like this, because my day job is I run a truck driving school, and that usually makes people turn their brains off and they stop listening. But what I'm going to talk about today is something that can benefit almost anybody. It is a hidden job market, literally thousands of jobs that nobody's applying for. So as an investor with tenants and with COVID going on, not all of the tenants that most of us have are working or they're laid off. And this hidden job market is a way for investors to help their tenants find work. And as an investor, most people realize that to qualify for the next loan, you need to be able to show consistent income. So if you get laid off during COVID, or if you're looking for just a better job to have more income so you can save that next down payment or build those reserves faster, then this is something that can help. And it's really weird how I found this hidden job market. In 2008, I was a city of Tumwater police officer. And when the recession hit, municipalities don't make any money. So they start laying people off. And so the police department was shrinking, like there's no more crime, so we don't need cops anymore. And I got laid off at the same time as a bunch of qualified officers. And in good times, it takes almost a year to lateral transfer from one department to another. And in bad times, nobody's hiring. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had a commercial driver's license, but I'm a single parent and I couldn't jump in a truck and drive all over the country. I thought if I could find a local driving job, just get a paycheck coming back in, I'd get back on my feet and figure things out. And at this point, I hadn't started investing in real estate yet. It was actually one of the things that drew me to real estate. Was I was tired of my sources of income being taken away due to things outside of my control. So the idea to invest in real estate was to take some control of that income. But I thought there was maybe 400 or 500 transportation companies in Washington state. And I thought I would kind of cheat the system, find a simple way to do things. I had a friend working at L&I down in Tumwater. I went in and asked her to print out a list of all the transportation companies. I thought if I had a list of where they're located, their names and their websites, I could start applying and get a local driving job. And she printed out the list for me. And on that list of transportation companies just here in Washington state, there were over 6,000 registered transportation companies. That is 6,000 employers that have management, operations, HR, IT, mechanic, web design, driver. I mean, every position you can imagine exists in transportation. And when there's a job opening, nobody applies for it. Because myself included, when most of us think of trucking companies, we picture a truck driving down the road and we think of the driver. We forget about all the people in the office and in the warehouse that it takes to make it possible for that truck to be on the road. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, most of the veterans will tell you this, that almost everybody getting out of the military is told that they should go for a state or a federal job, because those are huge organizations that never shut down, they never lay off, they never furlough, they never do all the things they're doing all the time. But there are companies like Pepsi. Pepsi employs 151,000 more people than the state of Washington does. Wow. And everybody wants to work for the state because of how big it is, but how many people have thought of working on the corporate side of Pepsi? And there's a really simple tool that I use to help people find trucking companies that are close to them. So I run a nonprofit. You can tell by my shirt, it's TPS, which is short for Transportation Placement Services. So what we do is, for free, we show people which trucking companies close to them are hiring. And these are not for driving jobs. It's really hard for me. I can never be clear enough with this, that it's really easy for us at the truck driving school to find people who want to become drivers. What we're looking for is the person who wants to work in IT or HR, because these transportation companies have nobody applying for the positions. And how our school got involved with this hidden job market is, you can Google this at some point if you like, but the United States is being hit by a driver shortage. Right now, the country's over 300,000 drivers short. And these trucking companies hate the word, but they are desperate. They've tried sign-on bonuses, tuition reimbursement, higher wages. You know, there was a driver shortage and then COVID hit and transportation became essential. More things needed to be delivered. So they didn't have enough drivers and now there's more demand. So the companies couldn't find drivers. So what they're doing now is they take their current staff. They take their forklift driver, their IT specialist. Oak Harbor Freight Line sent in a terminal manager. They send their current employees to schools like ours. We train them to get a CDL. They get promoted to become a driver, which leaves their position vacant and nobody applying for it. It's pretty easy to get a job when there's no competition. Sometimes when someone comes in and sits with our placement specialist and applies for one of these jobs, they're actually the only applicant that the employer sees. And It's really weird. I go all over the state. I teach our hidden job market on bases, in prisons, at colleges, basically anywhere where there's somebody that's going to be looking for work. And it works for people who are trying to get a better job too. And I see rooms full of people that want to get a better job or need work. I've never seen a room full of employers trying to figure out how to find the employees. This is a trucking company called Redaway, and I will send a PDF of this to you in case you can get it up in this video. But this trucking company called Redaway, they have a terminal in Kent, Tacoma, Tumwater, pretty much every 30 miles all the way from Washington to Florida. And in this ad, they are looking for operations, account manager, clerical, dock work, driver, local driver. And their brilliant idea to find people for these jobs was to put every single one of those jobs on Craigslist underneath Class A CDL driver. So how many operations managers are going to go online and type in truck driver to find these jobs? So that's why we call it, it's physically a hidden job market. The employers don't know how to find people. People usually don't know how to find these because who's going to look for a truck driving job to work in an office? And so what our nonprofit does is for free, we have 4 locations. We are in Auburn, Port Orchard, Lakewood, and Olympia. You don't need an appointment. And if you live farther out, you can actually just call or email us. And our phone number is 253-983-0200. Making sure I give the right one. And our placement specialist, that's the code word. If you ask to talk to a placement specialist, that will tell us that you don't want to drive a truck. They'll ask you background questions, find out where you live, what kind of work you want to do. And we haven't found a position that doesn't exist in transportation yet. We've placed nurses with companies like UPS. A lot of people don't know that large trucking companies actually staff medical personnel there.
Wow.
We've placed counselors with DSHS because they have actual mobile trucks that take the benefits out to people who can't make it to the office. So challenge us, try to bring a job you don't think we can help with.
Here, Dion, I'm starting to get the goosebumps here. Tell them again, I want to go back and just focus on that word again, placement specialist. That's like a code word that you want people to use, or let's focus on that for a second. When they call.
When you call or come in, if you say, I want to talk to a placement specialist, that tells us that you don't want to drive a truck. Because if you walk into a CDL school and you say, hey, I'm here to get some information, we're going to put you in a truck and see what you think. But when you say, I want to talk to a placement specialist, that helps us shift gears, pun intended. And we ask background questions, what kind of work you're looking for. And it's a 501c3 nonprofit. So we don't charge you a penny. We don't charge the employers a penny. What we get out of it is worth much more than money. This trucking company, Redaway, this top position that they're looking for here, this local city driver, the average entry-level wage for Redaway, their drivers make a little over $70,000 a year to start.
Wow.
So our clients want that job, but here's a moment of transparency. Truck driving sucks. What you're supposed to do is go to a truck driving school, get your CDL, and then drive over the road, long haul, for 2 years to get experience, making somewhere between $6 and $10 an hour. And it's a terrible job with a high turnover rate, and it's very few people actually enjoy that type of work. But 2 years later, you can finally get a local driving job for a company like Redaway or Old Dominion or Oak Harbor or McLean, where you make over $70,000 a year and you get to be home every night. The reason we run this nonprofit, I would like to say it's for the warm and fuzzy. It just feels good to help people. But the truck driving school is a company, and companies don't do anything without an ROI. They got to get a return on their time or their money that they invest. What we did with the nonprofit is we broke the system. Redaway, Oak Harbor, Old Dominion, McLean, all these local companies, they view us as a source of people. Redaway doesn't even run this ad anymore. So when they need a forklift driver, they call us. When they need an IT specialist, they call us. They send their recruiter to all 4 of our locations to recruit our graduates, even though they don't have 2 years of experience, because we're a source of people. So if somebody listening comes in and sits with our placement specialist, and we help you find a web design job with a company, not driving a truck, we don't charge you a penny, you're actually doing us the favor, because that's how we keep our relationships up with these local trucking companies. So our graduates, our actual company tagline is be home every night. So our graduates don't have to go out and tour the whole country for 2 years making no money. They actually graduate and go to local work making good money. So it's really fun the way I've designed my life. I run a nonprofit that does job placement assistance. So I get to help people finding jobs without charging anything. I run a CDL school where I get to train people. I get to play in a semi like it's a go-kart. And the more we play, the better the driver they become. And I get to help them get a good local job. And then with my YouTube channel and the things that I've learned, I'm helping people realize they don't need those jobs after about 10 years or so. For most of us, it takes a job to get the ball rolling, get those first few loans going, and show income to qualify. But after about 10 years or so, the average person can use what I've done to reach financial independence in less than 10 years. I was 40 years old, a single parent with 3 kids, $89,000 in bad debt that I didn't find out about until the divorce. And it still took less than 10 years by investing in small multifamily, buying a place every couple of years. And then the income snowball started to kick in, and it got faster and faster to buy places. And now I'm actually looking for my first place in Arizona because I want to get paid to snowbird. I'm house hacking a 4-plex here in Washington where I live in a unit and I'm still profiting pure cash flow about $1,700 a month. That's after principal, interest, taxes, insurance, after setting aside for reserves and vacancy. So if I can find something similar to that in Arizona, I get to snowbird like most people do, but they're paying for 2 places and I'll be getting paid by 2 places to do that.
Awesome.
So I hope I made it worth everybody's time logging into this video today. This is called a hidden job market. My YouTube channel is Dion Talk Financial Independence. My goal is to help as many people as I can reach financial independence. That's actually where my passion is. I still love running the truck driving school and the nonprofit. And I've actually got some videos out that are really useful on how to do a resume, I'm making one this week on how to do an interview, because we trained about 1,500 students a year at the CDL school. In 2020, we tracked about 3,400 job placements with the nonprofit. So we've got feedback from employers, hundreds of them, on what works and what doesn't work. So
Awesome.
My channel is mostly how to invest in real estate, how to reach financial independence. But for a lot of us, that first step is getting a job or getting a better job. And I'm enjoying helping people do that.
And we are enjoying everything that you want to tell us through these Dion talks. Absolutely. I tell you, you guys need to share this with everybody that you know. Let's help people get jobs. And the cool part of this, like you said, tying it back to the real estate, is this is something that you can help your tenants with. Like you said, that is very interesting. I mean, what would be a reason that somebody wouldn't qualify though for a job at one of these places? I mean, how much do you have experience for the office jobs? I mean, what would be?
We've helped people with entry-level jobs where they walk right in the door with no experience whatsoever. Transportation is also an industry that doesn't care about background. I have had employers say, I don't care if somebody was a base commander, stay-at-home parent, or in prison.
Okay.
Veterans try not to be offended by this, but 10 years in the military and 10 years incarcerated is almost the same to an employer. You're coming from a different work environment, trying to reintegrate yourself into the civilian workforce. And veterans, we're proud of what we've done and we want to talk about it. And somebody coming out of lockup maybe doesn't want to talk about it. And the recruiter doesn't care. So we have positions for people with lots of experience, no experience, with degrees, with no degrees. We work with HVAC companies, welding companies. So people from the trades can find jobs here too. Like I said, try to challenge us and bring in a job that you don't think we can help with. I haven't found one yet.
Wow. So somebody literally could say, this is the type of work I think I would be interested in, and you can match them up with that as well?
Yep. So I'm going to share a really quick story, and if it's too dark, you guys can edit it out later. But okay. I met this gentleman, and he had the personality of basically wallpaper paste. When he spoke, he was very monotone, and he just stared straight ahead, and he barely blinked at all, and he didn't move much. But his life goal was to work in sales. He said, I really want a sales job. I want to deal with people. I keep getting these jobs where they put me in the back room or they put me in the warehouse, and I just want to interact with people. Took us almost a month, but we got him a job at a funeral home. He is the perfect salesman. When he comes in, his emotion is blank. He doesn't feed back to the person. He's really calm. And so again, try to challenge us, bring us in something that you don't think we can find a job for.
How the heck would you end up with a job with a funeral home when you're starting through the trucking avenue?
So in transportation, most people don't realize that almost every company touches transportation. You have a dock for deliveries. Somebody has to deliver even to a funeral home. How do their coffins get there? In aerospace in King County, there's over 320 companies that work in aerospace, and almost every single one of them has to move their parts somehow. I can't think of a company. So thinking of, like I said, DSHS. When you think of benefits from the state, would you think transportation? But They've got trucks that transport their counselors for those people who can't make it to the office. And for us, it's worked out really well because just by helping somebody find a job, we build a relationship with local companies. And when I first started working at the truck driving school, we had 6 staff, and the first owner retired and new owners came in, and their goal was to run a school and help people. So they're really good people, and they just wanted to grow a school to help people find jobs. And because I was starting my path to financial independence, I took a chance. I said, I have an idea and it will help the school grow. If I didn't start the path to financial independence, didn't start thinking about duplexes or how to replace my income, I probably would have kept my head down and just done my job because I would have needed the job. But since I knew this job was only necessary for a few years to reach financial independence, I took a chance. And I shared the idea with the owners. I said, look, if we found a nonprofit where we help people find non-driving jobs, this will help the school grow. We're now at 60 staff with 4 locations and we're opening in another state. And it was the best chance that I've ever been given. The owners that purchased it gave me this shot. They said, we'll try your idea because they don't know the industry. And they said, if in 6 months we're doing good, we'll let you run the place. And if in 6 months we're not doing good, you're fired and someone else will run the place. And now I'm president and part owner of the company. So it's working out really well.
And you deserve it. You deserve it. Good stuff, brother. I just love it. I love everything you're doing. And we can't thank you enough for sharing this opportunity with us and all our listeners. Now, what if people are listening from across the U.S.? Because we certainly have people listening to this podcast in other states. How can we're in Washington state, but is there anything we can do for people in other states? You know, we have listeners in California and Oregon and Idaho. We have listeners in Florida. What do you say to them?
I'm glad you asked because my memory is not that great and I usually forget to bring this up. But we actually work with trucking companies like Redaway and Old Dominion that are in all 50 states. And our company was started here in Lakewood, right next to Joint Base Lewis McChord. So we work with a lot of service members. So we're specifically designed around working with companies all over the country. When a service member gets out of the military and is going home to Georgia or to Maine or to wherever, the trucking companies that we work with work in what they call hubs or terminals, like I said, about every 30 miles from here to Florida. So if somebody's in another state, they can call or reach out to our website, which is cdstruckschool.com, kind of easy to remember. Tell us the town you're living in. We'll ask the same background questions. We'll contact the employers that we work with. How we usually know if an employer is looking for people is when an employer calls us and says, we need 10 drivers or 15 drivers. Our staff is trained to ask follow-up questions. You know, is this turnover or is this growth? Are you adding a terminal or turning a hub into a terminal? And if you need drivers, that means you need these other positions too. And then we talk about our nonprofit and we can help their needs with that. So somebody living in another state can definitely use our services. And again, at no charge. It helps us maintain that relationship with that trucking company.
So where should they go? Again, I mean, what is like if somebody said, I'm going to do this right now today, what do they do? Call the number, go to a website?
Well, I'll give you a website that's the easiest one to get the information from. hiddenjobs.org. That's the website for the nonprofit. I always forget to mention that too. But to get a hold of us, it's hiddenjobs.org. And there's a contact us point on there.
Okay. Awesome stuff. Wow. I feel like there's so many things we can talk about. What about benefits? Are there benefits that come, like health benefits that come with these jobs and things?
So some of the companies are small, like our truck driving school. We have 60 staff. We are recruiting for different positions. You know, we're looking for instructors. We're growing too. But like I said, there's companies like Pepsi, 150 plus thousand people more than the state of Washington. There are companies with pensions still. We work with union companies, non-union companies. We work with people with 2 or 3 trucks, 10 employees, or hundreds of thousands of employees. So you have the whole across the board options for benefits, especially in the driving, market, and transportation. The trucking companies are competing for drivers because there's that shortage. So like I said, most are starting above $70,000 a year. They have benefits. And if you offer benefits to your drivers, they're available for everyone in the office and the warehouse too. So the people in transportation are benefiting from that shortage because the employers are having to compete to keep people in the positions.
Right. Are there part-time positions available also?
Yeah, in transportation, there's a lot of part-time positions. We help that actually helps a lot of the employers maintain their overtime and have that more flexible schedule. So we have full-time if somebody's looking for a way to have a new income. But we work with a lot of students, you know, especially coming out of the military where they're now going to go use their GI Bill and go to college. A part-time position works best for them. So there's part-time, full-time, in the rural areas, in urban areas. I mean, these trucking companies are everywhere. So here's the tool that we use. Mostly this is used for our students, but this will help every one of the people listening to this right now too. Someday, go outside your house to the closest big road and just take 10 minutes and watch every truck that goes by that doesn't have a sleeper. So behind the driver, there's an area where they can lay down. If they have a sleeper, that truck can be from anywhere. But if there's no sleeper, that tells you that that truck is within driving distance. Write down the name of that company, go in your house and look online for the company. Because if you went outside and you see a Pepsi truck driving by, There's no sleeper. That's a local company. There's a terminal close to you. Go in line, look up their website, and Pepsi's website has career opportunities, how to apply, and that's just one example out of thousands.
Right. Wow. Geez, really good info here today, guys. I'm feeling, I'm getting the goosey bumps all over the place. Well, we appreciate you, Dion, so much. I love the fact of how I have the feeling that you're going to be teaching all these companies. I mean, what a great opportunity to step in to some of these companies and teach their employees about real estate and financial independence too. Man, you're really onto something here, and you are doing it for a great reason. And we hope that you guys take this very serious and get on it. There's a lot of solutions that can be made if you can't qualify for a loan to buy things these days for your own, primary residence or your own living situation. And one of those is a lease option. There's lots of ways for you guys to take advantage of getting in a home on a lease option until you've been in a job for, 2 years and you can qualify for a loan. But unfortunately, sometimes the lease option, I say programs that are out there might require some income. I'm going to follow up and see how long somebody has to be employed before they can plug into some of the lease option companies that are out there. But of course, that's always available for you off market too, just privately. And if you're interested in learning about lease options and how you might get into a home or a rental property, hit me up. I've got a presentation on that as well for you guys. But again, Dion, maybe what we can do is, if anybody is interested to hear from Dion, or if anybody wants to do a private session with Dion beyond this podcast, maybe on this YouTube, what are we on YouTube here? People can say what in the chat, Joe? They can drop something like, give me more information, or I'd be interested in talking privately with Dion, and maybe we can do another private training session or a Zoom with Dion and let people do a Q&A, right? As a group session, maybe. So they're not calling you one-on-one. Maybe we can bust out something like that with Dion. If you guys say, I'm in below on this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel too. Then we will circle up with Dion and do all kinds of stuff, right? As a group. That'd be awesome. So again, remind us of how they can reach all your channels, all your social, as well as your real estate stuff, Dion.
So the easiest way to find me, because as you know, with your YouTube channel, it shows you every comment that you haven't replied to. So the easiest way to get a hold of me is to comment on one of my videos, which is, my channel is Dion Talk Financial Independence or Financial Freedom. And I want to do one shameless plug before we're done here, before we wrap up. I am learning a lot in every mastermind group that you guys do every week, every Thursday morning. I come in, and sometimes I never know what I'm going to learn that day, but I walk away with more knowledge than I entered it with. So I want to say thanks for putting those together. And I recommend everybody that's listening to at least check that out.
I appreciate that, brother. So what he's talking about is every single Thursday morning, Pacific time, from 11:30 to 12:30, we have a roundtable meetup that is open and free for everybody listening here. All you need to do is go to meetup.com, search Seattle Investors Club, and grab the Zoom link there. And that link does not change every week. It's the same. So you literally can grab it one time and copy and paste it into your calendar for Pacific time here on Thursdays, 11:30 to 12:30. And Dion joins us most weeks, as well as all our smart friends. It is literally, I'm stealing the word, and there is a group called Collective Genius. If you haven't heard about that as a real estate investor, go check it out. If you're a big baller, it's kind of a private group. I don't know all the details about it, but what we are literally is a place for you to come, get all your questions answered, get all kinds of resources and tips. It's just an open discussion every week. We never know what we're going to talk about, but we do record those for members of Seattle Investors Club. If you're not a member of Seattle Investors Club, you just plug in and show up every week, and it's free to join the conversation. And we appreciate you showing up to that for us, Dion. Appreciate it so much. So other than that, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, which is Certain Lending. If you guys are needing any type of 30-year loan product for any of your rental properties, or any type of fix and flip or BRRRR type of financing, we highly recommend that you check out our friends at Certain Lending. We vet our partners very closely here, not only just for their services, but people who are honest and who we feel that have your best interest as at heart. If you're not a good fit, or they think you do better with a different type of loan product, they're going to tell you that. So there's no reason not to contact them. Certain Lending is who you want to look for. And Joe, you can drop something on Certain Lending in the podcast as well. All right, guys, that's our feel good. We're going to start doing more of these. I call them a community podcast, right? Where it's a little bit about real estate, but it's a little bit about helping people recover from this crazy last year that we're in and move forward with their lives. And then we can plug in some real estate and help people start working down the path towards financial freedom here like Dion has done. And so if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and come plug in with us every week as we drop new content. But other than that, thanks for showing up today, and we'll catch you next time. Joe, do we want to drop the details of today's podcast before we sign off?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys can get all the links if you're driving or whatever. Just remember 142. And then when you get done driving, go to seattleinvestorsclub.com/142, and you'll get all these links and phone numbers that Dion has mentioned and everything you need.
Right. And our YouTube page, what I like about it is that it is user-friendly. It will show you the hundreds of podcasts that we've done, as well as tips of the day. And again, like I said, we want you guys to send us YouTube videos that are unique and that are educational, any funny stuff, DIY stuff, anything you think would be helpful to share with other people. We are willing to post that on our YouTube page, but it has to be unique content, not your YouTube page sent to us to post on our YouTube page. If you have any questions about that, just reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com. This goes for, it doesn't matter where you're located. We want to hear from you. So let's all boats rise. Let's all grow together. All right. See you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.